Hi, welcome to the Artisan Baker. Today I'm going to show you how to make a loaf of bread just like this. Very easy and simple recipe you can do in your own home. First thing you want to do is make something called a pouliche. Pouliche is kind of like a starter. It's a mix of flour and water, and it goes for about 24 hours. It's very easy to do, and it adds a lot of flavor to your loaf of bread. First thing you want to do is weigh out equal parts of flour and water. I use a scale to do all my ingredients. Everything comes out a lot better that way, better than doing in volume. The way to make a pouliche, this is 3.25 ounces of water, 3.25 ounces of flour. It's an unbleached, unbromated flour, and a very, very tiny pinch of yeast. This is an instant yeast. You can add it straight to the flour. You don't have to bloom it in any kind of water. Mix these two together. Just like that, till they're well incorporated. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. You cover this and let this sit for about 12 to 24 hours. It'll get nice and bubbly, and it'll have a great smell. Alright, now it's been 24 hours. We have our pouliche done, and now it's time to incorporate all the ingredients. I've got water. This is just regular tap water. If it's good enough to drink, you can put it in your bread. The flour I'm using is an all-purpose flour. It's unbromated, unbleached. I recommend using that or organic flour. You don't need to use bread flour or high gluten flour for this. This is fine. I'm using an iodized salt and an instant yeast or bread machine yeast. So what we're going to do, if you're going to use a mixer like I am, put the water in first, and then the pouliche. As you can see, it's bubbly and quite sticky. Then the flour, and then the salt and yeast. You don't want the salt and yeast to touch each other before they go in the bowl. The salt will kill the yeast and it won't be active. The reason why I put water on the bottom is that if you put flour on the bottom first, the flour tends to stick at the bottom, and you'll get clumps of flour by the time you're done mixing. And this goes in the mixer for 3 minutes on first speed. Alright, this is the end of the first speed. This is how your dough should look. It's a little bit sticky, but that's okay. Now we're going to put it on second speed for 5 minutes. Okay, now that it's done mixing on the second speed for 5 minutes, we're going to transfer it to a greased bowl. Your dough is going to be pretty sticky, which is normal. To help with this, sometimes if you coat your hand with water, sticky dough won't stick to wet hands. I have a little plastic bench scraper. We can scrape out the rest of the mixing bowl. And once it's in this bowl, I coat it with oil and cover it in plastic and let it sit for about an hour. Alright, now that the dough has sat for 1 hour, we're going to take it and do what's called a turn. You're going to take the outside edge, pull it up and over, and turn it 90 degrees, and do that to all 4 sides. Once that is done, you want to flip it over, cover it again, and let it sit for another hour. Alright, now that another hour has gone by, it's time to shape the dough. We're first going to pre-shape it. shape right here. By rounding it up into a ball, this helps the final shape stay a little bit more uniform. So what you're going to do is take the outside edges and turn them over to the top. So you have kind of a round ball. Cover this with a cloth, let this sit for about 15 minutes, and we'll come back and do the final shape. Alright, now that the dough has rested for 15 minutes, we're going to shape it one last time. I'm going to bring the camera closer so you can see how I do that. Alright, so this top side is nice and round. We're going to flip that over to the bottom. Stretch out the bottom a little bit, and what you're going to do is roll it down. Take the top, put it about 1/3, and then top again. And you're going to bring this bottom seal up to the top. And then what I'm doing is taking the palm of my hand and pushing the two together all the way back. And that's the loaf of bread. And I've got a cloth over here with a little bit of flour on it. I'm going to put it seam side down. Let that ferment for another, let that proof for another hour. Alright, I'm showing you the inside of my oven. I have my baking stone here on top. You can see it's been used a lot. I have an old sheet pan below. This is where I'm going to put water when the oven is hot, and it'll create steam for the oven. You're going to bake your bread at about 460 degrees, and that temperature varies depending on where you are and how you want your bread. Alright, now that our dough has been sitting here for about an hour, you can kind of check it by poking it. And it kind of leaves a dent, but it doesn't spring back all the way. That's about ready for the oven. I've got here a piece of wood. I'm going to transfer the loaf onto the piece of wood, so I'm going to just put a little bit of flour on there. Flip this over. Stick a little bit and flip it back onto the wood. Now I'm going to slice this before it goes in the oven. I want to basically take the middle third of the loaf of bread is where you want to slice it. I've got a razor here. I'm going to go right down that middle third, and I want to cut underneath it. I don't want to go straight down with the blade. I want to cut underneath, so as it bakes, the top layer can come up and won't be exposed, the bottom layer won't be exposed to the heat. So I'm going to do 3 cuts, just like that. That's ready for the oven. Alright, now my oven is heated up to 460. I'm going to steam it first and then put the loaf of bread in. I'm going to be quick so I don't lose any heat or steam. Steam first, now the bread. Let that bake for about 15 to 18 minutes depending on how dark you want it. Alright, now you can see our loaf of bread is done. I'm going to put it onto a cooling rack. See how good that looks? Alright, now the bread is done. It's out of the oven. You want to cool it on a perforated pan or a cooling rack. This circulates the air and makes it so there are no wet spots underneath the loaf. Let this rest about 20-30 minutes before you cut into it, and enjoy. That's it. That's the easy way to make an artisan loaf of bread. Thank you for watching.